Hey, 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 all you classic people out there. Thanks again for tuning in to Mariquette, Episode 2. Today's date is July 24th, 2013. Let's introduce the team again. I'm Patrick. We have Sean.
Hey, I'm Sean. Thanks for joining us again.
We have Ashley.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
And of course, we have Andre.
Hello, welcome back to Episode 2.
So what have you all been up to? Been playing any new video games this week?
Behind the curve, man. Playing popular video games like 2 weeks late.
Oh.
And getting the ending spoiled. And
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
well, so after a lot of procrastination, actually only half my fault, half the fault of all the stores being sold out, I finally picked up The Last of Us. And through listening to podcasts and reading articles, the ending was inherently spoiled, but I played it anyway. And I really enjoyed it. And as far as I know, I'm the only one in this group who's finished it. So I'm not gonna do the same to you guys that happened to me, because I am a respectable friend.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But we can talk about other stuff.
I played the demo of it, but yeah, I haven't played it yet. I don't have $60 to drop on that game. Not when the summer sale for Steam was just around the corner. I couldn't do it. So
Yeah. Gotta hold back on the big bucks.
Is there anything you want to talk about that wasn't like super spoiler, like, or just wasn't spoiler filled, or?
Well, I have to say this isn't a story spoiler, but I've never been quite as emotionally immersed in a game before. I've been emotionally invested, where, I got attached to characters, and I got really into the story where I had to know what happens next, but rarely, if ever, do I find myself, like, I'm tense when the character is tense. I'm panicking when the character is panicking. I'm sad when the character is sad. And I experienced that, like, 10 times over in this game. Naughty Dog did an amazing job of just creating a mood through the entire thing.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I totally agree. I mean, it's the sort of thing where it's not often where I'm in a game and something happens and I'm just like, oh, shit. Where it's like, where you get those reveals in a TV show that's so well crafted, and sometimes you see it coming and other times it just really blindsides you, and yeah, they did a fantastic job with that.
So you're seeing that type of stuff, and you haven't finished the game yet. How far along are you, Andre?
I'm not sure. Ashley can confirm, but I think I'm about like maybe 30% through. I'm still quite near the beginning, I think.
Okay, and you're still seeing those type of...
I'd ask you how long you've been playing, but that time length can vary depending on how much you explore.
Well, remember I was telling you about what that one oh shit moment was with Bill? Yeah, that's basically where I'm at.
I'd say you're about 40% of the way through.
All right, yeah.
All right, cool. So the game is pretty... It's not super linear, or is that... It's obviously not open world, is it?
No, it's very linear.
Okay.
It is linear, but there are areas of the environments that you don't necessarily have to go through to progress through the level, but if you do, you find extra items.
Right.
Mostly extra items, extra artifacts, which are basically just story items. I can't really say what any of them are without giving away the story, but yeah, there's like when you're walking through a residential area, for example, for the actual campaign, you basically just have to go straight through down the street. But you can go into houses and go into people's garages and backyards, etc., etc. And you don't necessarily have to do that. But if you do, you definitely get rewarded for taking the extra time and effort.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that Last of Us does really well, too, is they make some of that exploration a risk. The only other recent game I can think of that's similar in that way is Alan Wake, in that you have a directive, you need to get somewhere, and you can explore and you can get rewarded for that, but you're also probably going to run into more trouble for doing that. So you really have to figure out, is it worth, this potential reward, or am I going to explore, find nothing, and then just be like, oh, I'm screwed. Whereas like in a game like BioShock, you're rewarded for exploring, but you don't really ever feel that sense of risk for doing so as well.
Right. It's like you kill the enemies that you know are there. This is in BioShock. You've killed the enemies that you know are there, and you're like, okay, now I have to press X on all these drawers and get all the little tidbits of money. And okay, that makes sense. That's cool. Yeah, I really liked Alan Wake, so I know exactly what you're talking about, because sometimes I wanted to explore a little bit more when I felt like I was in a good situation. At other moments, I was just like, all right, fuck this. I don't want any shadows coming up and killing me. So, cool. Yeah, I want to play it. I don't know when I'm going to get to it.
There are certain areas where you can only open the door with a shiv, and shivs are very useful in the game, so I loved my shivs, and I always felt the pinch whenever I used them to open up a door. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Okay, fine. And there's always really good loot inside of the rooms, but I never liked to part with my shivs.
Do they have a chance to break on open like the pins do in Fallout 3 or something like that? Or is it...
They're guaranteed to break.
They're guaranteed, yeah.
Okay,
they always break.
But they always open the door, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I see. So the trade-off is will I be able to use this in combat or something like that?
Exactly.
And right, okay, that's cool.
The thing is, there are certain enemies you can only kill or stealth kill with a shiv. Like, you can't strangle them like you would all the other enemies. So that's the trade-off, is you lose a really valuable asset.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the game sounds really good. I mean, I've been trying to avoid reading any spoilers and stuff, and it's been a hard one. It's been really hard, so. The
only time that I ever laughed out loud for longer than 5 or 10 seconds in that game it wasn't even a funny moment, but it was funny to me because Nolan North voices one of the characters in the game, and I could totally just picture him like waltzing into Naughty Dog and just being like, "Hey guys, what's up? Heard you're making another game. Figured you'd want me around."
Yeah.
That's funny. What do you think were some top essential items that you had to use in the game? Like, let's get like 5 top essential items.
Essential items? I don't know, because part of what made the game so awesome was you could figure out your own way of doing things. You weren't necessarily hinged to just one particular method of anything. Like later on in the game, you get these things called nail bombs, which is basically just, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a bunch of nails and sharp shards of metal inside a can with gunpowder, and you throw them and they explode around a group of enemies and basically just tear them to shreds. Like, the enemies literally look like they explode into mist. So it really depends on your approach as to what enemies you need. Now, for me personally, I would say my top 5 would be my shivs, obviously, my nail bombs, my shotgun, my flamethrower, and I don't know, I guess my med packs, because I get hurt a lot.
That's great. That sounds really good.
I've got a question for you, Ashley. Are you a bottle person or a brick person?
I'm a brick person.
Nice. Me too.
I like the bricks.
Good choice.
I'd probably be brick. I don't know what you're talking about, though. No, I play the demo, so I know you throw bricks at enemies. Is there anything that's time contingent in the game where if I play this game a year from now, am I going to miss out on anything other than being in the know about it and the coolness factor of it just being new? Or...
Well, you'll be hard-pressed not to have it spoiled before then.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot like BioShock Infinite. If you haven't been spoiled for BioShock Infinite yet, you're doing a really good job.
Nice. I've been doing a good job. Don't spoil it for me. I'm like almost halfway through. Cool. Okay. So I don't know. I just wanted to make sure there's nothing. I don't know. I can't think of an example of a game that is more time contingent, I guess. But usually those things only pop up with multiplayer, right? There are games out there that if you know the multiplayer is going to be good and it's not going to have like long lasting multiplayer, if it's not a Call of Duty or Battlefield, then you want to get the game pretty soon after launch because the community's there to play multiplayer with. But months down the road, it's going to die off. So that's an example, I guess. But just there's not that many single player heavy games that are like that. So.
Yeah.
Actually, I've heard the multiplayer for Last of Us is really good.
I've watched some of the gameplay of it. Yeah, it looks interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I don't know if it'll last.
So what else has everyone been playing?
I've been playing the Riot news. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see.
So let's talk about the new system Riot is trying to put out, where people who play a computer game such as League of Legends, scenario game, are now turning into pro athletes.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so what's the news on that? They worked with the U.S. government to give them pro leadership or something, and what are the implications, or what are the results of such action and stuff?
I guess they've been lobbying. Riot Games have been lobbying with the government for a while to make it basically esports be sort of considered as a legitimate sport, and so that a professional gamer would be considered a professional athlete, and so that way they can bring over players, high-ranking players from overseas, bring them into the U.S. much easier for tournaments and things like that, because they'd be coming over on a pro athlete visa.
Okay. And previously, or the way that it works right now, before this stuff goes into play, is that people that are playing competitive games, playing pro elite games and stuff like that, they have a harder time getting the temporary visas they need to come into the U.S. to participate in the tournaments and the high dollar games and all that stuff. And so this helps just make that more fluid and streamlined and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's just the idea that they're going for, and
yeah,
it definitely brings up some interesting points, and it might set sort of an interesting precedent too for esports just in general, because a lot of people wouldn't really consider a professional gamer to be a professional athlete, but sort of in the eyes of at least the U.S. government with their visas, they're saying, yeah, it is.
Right.
I think you'd be surprised what the U.S. government considers to be an athlete. But yeah, I mean, who knows where this could lead? Like, Olympic StarCraft? Who knows? But I mean, I wonder what kind of, if any, advantage this gives to Riot. Or is it just something they did for their fans?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it had something to do with one of their upcoming tournament events is going to have over 10,000 people in attendance, and that is some sort of barrier for, I guess, making that visa work, is there has to be a certain amount of, I guess, interest in the sport. I don't know if it's going to be a blanket thing for lots of different professional sports, or professional gamers rather, or if it's just going to be for League of Legends for the time being.
Yeah, it might have to, who knows, but they might have certain things in there where they can get visas only if the tournament is, so big and has, so much that they're anticipating for audience, and, who knows all the little strings that are attached. But I still think it's good news, on a couple different fronts. Like, one, it's just better for, the gaming community and fans of pro sports. But it also kind of, for me, it makes me kind of question like the current state of the government too. Like, it may sound silly, but like with them doing something, we're like, oh, like good job guys. But then we also look at it and go, well, why is it so hard for people with good intentions that want to participate in this type of stuff, in these type of programs in pro league sports and stuff? Like, why are they having a hard, like, why do they need this type of law in order to make it easier for them to come in and do this kind of stuff, whenever they have good intentions and all that stuff? So it kind of shines the positive light on the gaming aspect of it, and the negative light a little bit on just the way that the government operates. Like, is it really that hard to come in and get a temporary visa in order to play, in a pro sports tournament? And something that I think is worth at least glancing at, so.
I don't know about getting a visa for pro gaming specifically, but I can tell you from experience that it is very, very difficult to get a visa.
Nice. Yeah, both of you two outsiders. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's that hard. Like, maybe that'll bring it more people's attention, and then maybe that can help with that stuff too, So it definitely gets the dialogue going there, and I think that's really important. So,
and I don't even know if I'd want to call it hard. I call it expensive and time consuming.
Right.
And when you can't plan to go to a tournament more than, maybe half a year in advance, you don't really have that time frame to do all the proper paperwork to be able to get into the United States. So hopefully this will help them out.
Cool.
Yeah,
well,
totally.
Good game. It's a good game to do that. It's people should really love Riot for doing this kind of stuff, because they have helped elevate, esports. I know StarCraft was really big, at least outside of the US and stuff like that before, but with the whole streaming thing and the whole streaming culture and stuff, Riot Games has had so much influence on helping bring that out and kind of, get it out there. And even though League of Legends may not have the most players compared to StarCraft and the most copies sold or whatever, I know there's still a lot, but if you go onto Twitch and look at how many people are streaming and how many people are watching, League of Legends is always the top spot. It always has more than double the next game. Like the second place game is usually a StarCraft or a World of Warcraft, or, you know, depending on who's streaming, you know, some of those top games, sometimes it's Dota 2, but League of Legends is always first with like double the amount of viewers, and it's really ingrained in the whole esports scene. And they did that all from kind of grassroots, ground up, you know, stuff. And so mad respect for them on that.
I always have a lot of admiration and respect for developers and publishers who go above and beyond for their community and their fan base. It's really admirable. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it, because it's not something they have to do, but they appreciate the people who pay for and play their game, and they want to give back just because, you know, they love the same thing that their players do, and they know where they're coming from. So good for Riot.
Yeah.
That's all I really have to say about that.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of being humble, too. It's saying, you know, we recognize that you guys are what is responsible for keeping us in business, and so they want to keep giving back to those people.
Yeah. So speaking of giving back to those people, maybe now would be a good time to talk about Microsoft reintroducing some of the features that they took away and that they're wanting to give back to the people. So Microsoft, whenever they first announced the Xbox One, they had a certain idea of where they wanted to take the system and the DRM policy that accompanied that. You know, they had a certain idea about how they wanted people to share games and to trade games and to sell back games and the digital ownership of games. And so they went all digital at first, was their idea. And then they introduced, you know, the DRM that was going to have to accompany that. And there were some good things and some bad things about it. And they ultimately decided to take back the DRM and the always online and the region locking and stuff. And some people were pissed. You know, the people that didn't mind the DRM, that were looking forward to some of their programs. You know, they were looking forward to the family sharing program that Microsoft announced initially. And, you know, Microsoft took all of those programs away. And now they're looking at reintroducing those programs at some capacity. And people are waiting to hear exactly what they mean by that, but it'd be really cool. So have you guys heard about the family sharing plan coming back, or what are some of the other things that you heard, Andre?
I think that in true Microsoft form, the whole idea was just marketed poorly. I mean, Microsoft's the champion of bad marketing. Like, I know people who were complaining about the DRM and the always online. I asked some of them, like, well, do you know why it has to be that way? Like, do you know what you're getting because that's there? And they're like, no. So I feel like maybe if Microsoft had made known what you were going to get as a result of this, and then, like, you know, little asterisks, fine print at the bottom, oh, by the way, I think that this whole upheaval about these issues wouldn't have happened in the first place, because it was only after they said that they were getting rid of it that they announced, like, oh, we can't have this anymore, and then you can't have that anymore, and then all of these people who complained all over again.
I think you really did hit the nail on the head, and one of the representatives from Microsoft said almost exactly that. They said, we're just not talking in the right way about this system, and sort of the onus is on us to make these features appealing to people, and they weren't able to do that. And I think a lot of it was, I mean, it's hard for me to say because I don't know what kind of went on behind the scenes, but it seems like they were trying to kind of come out with the stuff that they were worried people wouldn't like, and then be like, but this is all the cool stuff that we're planning on doing. But they never got to that second part. They got just kind of overrun by everybody lashing out against their policies with good reason, because they didn't know what they were for. The information was out there, but it definitely wasn't being reported on, and they weren't really making a push to say, hey, no, wait, everybody, hold on a second. You know, this is why we're basically making Steam, but you can trade and sell your games and share them with your family. Like, and if they just come out and said that, it's something that would have won over a ton of people right away.
Yeah, especially with that family sharing thing. Like, you can share your data with 10 other people. Like, can any of you think of any game you have where you've lent it to more than 10 people?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's this family sharing stuff, to me, it sounded a little too good to be true, and it was almost like the family sharing stuff was a response to the DRM stuff, right? Like, so they came out, and you guys are absolutely right about it's the way that they did the messaging. Like, first they said, oh, and we've got this DRM system, and everyone was like, what? You know? And then they were like, but we've also got this family sharing thing that's neat. And that came out, from what I remember, that was not emphasized on very much at all until a little bit later, like maybe a couple days later or something. And it was all speculation. They never really, and they might have not even known exactly. They probably were still trying to work out the details, you know. But, you know, the whole, you know, you can share with 10 other people, and everyone assumed that it was going to be full versions of the games, you know, or at least someone from Microsoft even said that. But there's a lot of conflicting information on if it was really going to be full versions of games, or if it was going to be something that was a full version that had a trial time limit, much like what PlayStation Plus does with their you know, full feature demos or whatever. And so there's a side of me that thinks that Microsoft doesn't even know and didn't get that far in really knowing the family plan stuff, and that's why they never came out and tried to sell it to people, you know, because there wasn't much there. To me, like, them taking away the family sharing is just kind of odd to begin with, because there are games that you buy digital on the 360 right now. Like, there are titles that you can only get if you have an internet connection, and if you buy the game, it's like an Xbox Live Arcade game, and it's digital only. They don't sell the disc in the store or anything. And so what's to stop Microsoft from keeping the family sharing plan around for their digital only content, you know, or something that you do buy digital if you agree to a certain, I don't know, make some sort of agreement with you know, their accept now kind of thing, like where you can trade those games and do the all digital stuff with games that are already all digital now, you know. And so to me, them taking it away, I feel like they took it away so they could later like have a talking point and reintroduce it later and be the good guys for reintroducing it. But that's just what I think, you know.
I wouldn't be very disappointed if the game industry eliminated discs entirely, if it went strictly digital download. I mean, in my opinion, that's where it's headed anyway. Mm-hmm. Making discs is wasteful and expensive, and you have to think about how much extra it costs just to, you know, make the packaging, make the disc, ship everything. And I can't help but feel if they got rid of all that, then the savings would be passed on to the players.
Sometimes. It really depends.
Yeah, that's certainly the hope.
That would be my hope anyway.
Yeah. It's not always the case though. Like, it's, you know, there's a lot of publishers out there that don't mind footing the bill. If a lot of more game companies went with the digital only strategy, there are publishers who would want to fill in with the physical copy disc stuff and hit all those people that don't have internet connections, believe it or not, or whatever, you know, and there would be a market for that, you know. If family sharing did come out, if Microsoft, you know, announced tomorrow that, yes, we are continuing with the family sharing plan, we had to make some changes because of the DRM, what would you want out of it to make it something that appealed to you, you know, as a pretty important feature, you know, a lucrative feature to have on the Xbox One console?
I think you just pretty much brought up the best point, is that it should just be an option. There should be the choice where you can do it if you have games that you want to share with people, or if you don't think you can keep up with, you know, the DRM checks or anything like that, then you can opt out of it. And I think in an ideal world, that's what they would go for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like, I think that forcing it on people was the biggest mistake.
Yeah. Presenting it as something, and I mean, I guess from the beginning they wanted to push this sort of evolution in the next generation of consoles. Like, they, you know, the PlayStation 4 looks great and it's got great everything, but it's really just PlayStation 3 version 2, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas the Xbox One, they were trying to do something different. They were trying to say, all right, let's take a risk with this, and it probably didn't pay off, but they were at least able to step back and say, all right, we can make these changes. All the features that were rumored may or may not still happen, and all the features that people thought, all the DRM and all the stuff that they thought was fact, is actually going to get, you know, sort of reversed. So
yeah, I think people just inherently don't like being told they have to do something.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. And who knows? I mean, maybe, you know, technology will move forward enough. I mean, there's always going to be people who don't have internet, but I can't, in the very near future, I can't see it being a very huge part of the population. I see it as like the amount of people who, you know, still use a VCR probably within, you know, a few years. And who knows, maybe when we get the Xbox 722, then all this stuff will be the norm and no one will complain.
Yeah. The thing about the DRM checks that bugged me was basically the whole down the road, right? Like, whenever the next consoles release, and I take my Xbox One and like I'm about to do with my 360, you know, like these thoughts are present in my head now. And I'm like, what am I going to do with am I going to keep my PS3 out or my Xbox out, you know, whenever I get a new console? Like, you know, I like to keep all my old consoles with the idea of I'm going to pass them on to my kids or want to play them in the future. And if a console has to be connected to the internet, like that's fine. But if it has to do certain checks and stuff, like how long are they going to offer those services? You know, how hard would it be? You know, that's obviously a pretty big barrier to jump with. I don't think is impossible, but it is something, you know, that they're not going to come out and give us answers to, because that would just be downplaying their own system, you know, as a talking point. So it'd be silly for them to talk about that.
I feel like this issue is this console's generation, or is to this generation of consoles as backwards compatibility was to last generation.
Yeah.
Because when the
that's just what I was
when the 360 came out and when the PS3 came out, people were, you know, kind of up in arms that there was no backwards compatibility, and this time it wasn't even talked about, and nobody even really brought it into consideration, because it's just, they realized that it's just that's part of the game. That's just how it is.
I wonder what would have happened if Microsoft came out and just had everything as they do now, but said, oh, and for those people that are really dedicated to the Microsoft brand and the vision that we have, you can be part of, you know, the digital only system, or call it like the binary, you know, group. It's above platinum and gold standards, and this allows you to have your library digital all the time, that you can share with other people that are in the binary group as well, you know, and sell it to people as a feature like that, you know. But like then they'd have to have the option of going all digital, and you know, what I talked about earlier. But like I wonder if they build it as that, if it would have sat a little differently with people. So obviously messaging mistakes on their part, but
it's a testament to the power of marketing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't help but wonder what would happen if Apple tried to create a gaming system of some kind. Like, no matter how bad it was, you know, it could have like 4 games that are both, you know, 2-bit, 10 minutes long, and I guarantee you it would sell like 5 million units in the first day, because they're the masters of marketing.
Yeah.
Because those are the only 4 games.
They're so good at marketing that they released a game machine, and it's called the iPad, and it's, you know, the game consoles are really, you know, the people that make the game consoles are really like threatened by it, and you don't even recognize it as a game platform, you know, but it's there. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that today. I was just like, man, Apple is very much in the gaming industry, but just like we just don't think about it the same way as we do the other ones. So
yeah, it's very true.
I think one of the distinctions, I mean, short segue, but is just that Apple, they don't really have any sort of exclusive titles. I mean, they do to a certain extent, but almost anything that you can get for an Apple device is available for other,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
like Android platform. And I'm assuming Windows has a similar sort of marketplace for their phone operating system. I have no idea. But it's less sort of, I understand the view of it being a gaming device, but I also sort of see it as more of just almost like a PC. Like I don't really consider a PC a gaming device. It's just sort of a platform that you can do things on, one of which happens to be gaming.
They carved out their own little niche in your world of screens, right? Like there's all these ideas out there about like human beings and in our society and stuff, and how many screens we like to have, right? Like we like to have our PC screen that sits on a desk that we like get information from, and then we like to have our TV screen that delivers like programming and like kind of more like I'm gonna veg out and watch this stuff. And then they kind of went, you know, in the middle and said, now we have this third screen, and it's penetrated people's brains that way, where now we think about smartphones and tablets as, you know, another screen, much like we have a computer screen and a TV screen, and then we have our kind of mobile information, stay connected to people and social screen. And yeah, right. they carved it out. They carved out their own little section just for that. So it's pretty cool.
You guys know Razer, right?
Yes.
The company who
yes.
makes like headphones. They made just not too long ago their gaming tablet. Have you seen that before?
I can't remember what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
The name is escaping me right now, but it's
really
amazing
thick and heavy.
Yeah, but it's like
but it's a beast.
Yeah, it's like a computer, but it's a tablet. It's really weird, but it actually has joysticks on it too. I mean, it's incredible how they just took the whole just handheld type of iPhone, Android gaming application, and took it to a whole extreme of like, this is gonna happen big. We're gonna be the first ones there for it. That's what I took from it. Like, Apple, their processors are pretty nice and stuff. They get the A5 processors for their all of their iOSs, and they're pretty decent. But man, they just I don't know what type of processor that Razer has, but it's brilliant. It's incredible to look at and like watch. It's like, oh my god, this is a tablet. Why would someone do this? But at the same time, I mean, it could probably be really big. Some third party is gonna make a game, and it's just gonna blow it out, because that's all I think is what's gonna happen. Because it's just third party games like Angry Birds, or one of the bigger games I like to play is this piano type game for the iPad, where you just click little bubbles, but it makes beautiful songs while you play. It's a whole nother level of it, but I feel really my turn very soon to this new type of gaming environment. Like, maybe they probably put, like, I don't know, GTA 5 on the tablet, which would be insane, but who knows?
Well, what is that? Nvidia has that Shield, the Shield console or whatever that they're coming out with. It's essentially a controller that has a flip screen that flips up off of the controller.
Yeah,
I've seen some buzz around that lately, and because I guess they're turning up their marketing a little bit, and they're going to be launching that, I think, in September or something. And
I just installed a new video card into my computer, and when it was installing the drivers and the software and stuff, it was advertising.
Oh,
it.
Really?
It had like a Skyrim screen cap on it or something. I guess the main issue with all of these devices is, are people willing to fork over that amount of cash for what is basically a unitasking device?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Who knows?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait and see. Like, it's definitely not something I want to drop my money on, but maybe when I was younger, I definitely could have seen myself being like, "Ooh, I want that,"
I'm having a hard time summoning up the will to hand over $250 for a Vita. So, I mean, $400, $500, maybe even $600 for
portable
a tablet-like device. I don't know.
Well, especially if it's coming out this fall, it's got to compete with the next generation consoles.
Yeah.
I was wondering. You said that it had a advertisement for Skyrim on it, and I was going to ask, what type of games are they trying to make for this thing? And obviously, they're trying to kind of make it a portable gaming machine that can play top tier, like AAA. It's essentially like your PC to go, is I guess what they're trying to sell it as. And we'll see, man, because there's a certain aspect of gaming where there are certain games that I don't want to play on a small screen. I like my Skyrims and all those games to be on big screen. There are people that build movie theaters to play video games on, and because they want like a cinematic experience or whatever. So we'll see.
My TV is 70 inches.
Is it really?
Well be a movie theater.
Wow,
yes.
I have a 55 inch and it's huge. And you said you live in a small apartment too, Ashley.
It like takes up our whole wall. It's I'm not gonna deny it is awesome, but people come into our house and look at it and they're like, guys, what is that?
And you're like, sit down, I'll show you.
I'm like, it's awesome, that's what it is.
You want the demo? What game do you demo? What do you do to prove to them that it's like, oh no, it's really awesome, sit down, let me put on this game. What's your go-to?
Well, actually, the first thing we did to demo it is usually we'll put on like Avengers or something like that, like a really graphically intense movie. But as far as video gaming goes, I don't know, what was the first thing I ever played on it? I think it was a Halo Anniversary.
I thought you were going to say like Super Meat Boy or something like. We started Minecraft up on it, and it was amazing.
I think we get pretty spoiled by big screens, because when I was in college, I had a monitor that I used to. It was basically my second monitor for my laptop. It had HDMI in, so I would hook it up to my Xbox and play on that. And this thing's like 19 inches. And I was fine playing on that. And then I moved into my apartment in Vancouver with my roommate, and we got a nice big TV, and I don't ever want to play on anything smaller than that.
Yeah, it's amazing how you adjust. For the longest time, I only had my iMac, my desktop iMac, and I just had a partition to play games on it, like a Windows partition. And the iMac screens are 27 inches, and I don't know if you've ever seen one, but they're LED
Yeah.
and they're absolutely gorgeous. And then after I built my new PC, I just plugged into like a 20-inch monitor that I had just laying around. And I remember when I got that 20-inch monitor, I thought I was the shit. And then I was looking at it and I was like, this looks like crap. It's yellow and it's tiny and I can't play games on this.
Yeah.
So I went and I had, finger quotations, I had to buy a new monitor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. For me, it kind of depends on the game and the experience I want out of it. Like, I have a Vita. My Vita's awesome. I'm not a big mobile gamer guy, and so, you know, I've had a DS Lite, and then back in the day I had like the Game Gear and the Lynx and all the Game Boys and stuff like that. But I haven't really gotten into mobile gaming, you know, since being in my 20s, and now I'm in my 30s. And but I got a Vita because I got like a really good discount on one. I had like an employee discount and stuff, so I was like, why not? I'll try this out. And I was looking at the Vita games, and I was like, yeah, like there are some cool Vita games I want to check out. But then once I got it, I realized it connected right to the PlayStation Store, and you can load up any PS1 game that they sell on their marketplace, you know. And it's the best system to play old PS1 games on because the screen is small enough where those games still look good. And so it's the best. Like, whenever people talk about playing PS1 games, I'm always like, the Vita is the best system to play those old games on, and it's an awesome machine. If you're hesitant about getting a Vita, I can tell you right now that you will get your money's worth out of one. They're really, really cool. I love my Vita.
That's
a lot.
actually why I wanted to buy one, is so I could play PS1 games on it, because PS1 was like the generation for RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't compare.
The first game I downloaded on it was Parasite Eve. And so,
nice.
That's like one of my older games that really struck a chord with me back in the day. So,
yeah, I wanted to load it up with like Chrono Trigger and Xenogears and Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 9 and just, you know, all those old classic PS1 games.
Yeah.
I know Chrono Trigger wasn't originally PS1,
right.
So don't freak out, people. But that was the first console I played it on. So
cool.
But yeah, that was my main reason for wanting to buy one.
Yeah, it's really cool. I really love mine. It's really neat.
And like I said, I've never heard anything bad from anyone who owns one. My hesitance is wearing down and wearing thin very quickly.
I get the feeling that the Vita is a lot like the Wii U, in that everybody that has one loves it, but nobody really bought them.
It sticks the whole idea of it has no games, or it's trash because it has no games and stuff like that. That really has stuck to both of those consoles, I think. And I think it's a little wrong, because there are a lot of games, but I understand it too, because there are a lot of games with the Vita that I'm interested in and that I want to play and that I am playing through. And the Wii U, I look at it and I go, oh, there aren't enough games to warrant a purchase yet. But like, I know if I had one, I'd be playing all sorts of games on it. So
for me with the Wii U, it's not that it doesn't have games. It's just that all the titles that are exclusive to the Wii U are Nintendo franchises, and they're all just getting so tired to me. Like, I can only play so many Mario games, and
I want to play
before they all start to seem the same, you know?
Yeah. I want to play the Zombie U game, because that has like some roguelike elements in it. Like they took a lot of inspiration from Dark Souls, you know, and that if you die in Zombie U, that character that you've been working on and playing and stuff and surviving as is dead. And you start a new character from like a different location and stuff like that. But you can get to where your last player died, and you will see him as a zombie with your backpack on. Yeah, and you can shoot him and take him down and get all your shit back. You know, but it's like a zombie version of the character you were playing for the last however many hours you survived as, you know. And then you can also like leave messages for people, and there's some really cool elements about it. But apparently, I read a news story the other day saying that they're not looking at making a sequel because it didn't sell that many units, which is
it was a flop. So speaking of characters being dead for good, Sean, I know you've been playing Rogue Legacy a bit.
Yes, and your characters die, and sometimes they die within minutes, and sometimes they last several more minutes. So, do you guys know what Rogue Legacy is? I guess I should go through a little explanation of it.
I played the demo.
Okay, and have you played it, Andre and Patrick?
I know very little about it. I actually just happened to pop onto the Steam store page earlier today and watch the trailer, and I was like, oh man, this This is dangerous because
It's really,
really
really good. So it's a roguelike game. I pulled up their website. I'm gonna go through kind of how they explain it on their. They have several bullet points here. It says it's a roguelite game for the PC, Mac, and Linux. You will die, but your children will avenge you. They may be genetically deficient, but that's okay. You still love your colorblind baby, or do you? And that kind of it gets explained later why. But it says it has a procedurally generated castle, and each playthrough is different. And so every time you go into the same castle over and over, it randomly generates the rooms and all this stuff. And I can say that like I've never seen it be that similar in terms of the way that the rooms are set up. So it's, you know, it's engaging, and every time you step into a new room that you haven't been in, you know, it's kind of set up like Castlevania in a way, you know. And so every room that you step in, it is different, you know. It has some of the same, you know, it has the same enemies and all that stuff, so you kind of know the way that it works, but you know, you really don't get tired of it. So there are 8 classes you choose from, and each class has its unique abilities in the way that you play the game. Each time you play, you get a little stronger, so you never go back to square one, and that's even whenever you die, and then your heir takes your place. You know, you get to pick which character it goes on. So it has skill trees.
They have really funny names.
Yeah, they have
Heirs.
skill trees, and you know, it has controller support and all that stuff. So basically what happens is you pick one of 3 characters that you're allowed to choose from, and these are like a lineage of your heirs and stuff that you pick from. So you know, they have all these different random classes. You can pick like the ninja that, you know, they each have their own little quirk, so he'll be colorblind. So then you go to play the game, and you have all the items, and you can do loadouts and all this neat stuff, and then you go into the castle and everything's black and white because you're colorblind, you know. And
awesome.
they do all these different things. They have so many different things, you know, like one guy is dyslexic, so all the words are jumbled back and forth, you know, with each other. Some of them, they are really nostalgic, and so it looks like a Game Boy kind of color overlay. There's all sorts of cool things. One of them is has vertigo, so you literally play the game upside down. And you're like,
oh, wow.
yeah, you're like stuck on top of the roof, and you're jumping and stuff, and that's really hard. But whenever you die, what happens is the game starts over, it shows you the title screen, and you're like, oh man, and then you click in the characters, and you see the lineage of all the characters you've ever played, and then there's 3 new ones to choose from, and those 3 new ones are the children of the one that just died. And so depending on what you picked on your old one, it passes on certain things. Like there's a higher chance or whatever that, you know, you'll either have like a Lich King class, or, you know, if you're playing the Lich, or it'll have, you know, certain of the same traits, or it'll have, you know, certain of the same like deficiencies or whatever. And so there's pros and cons to each player, and you have certain goals that you're set for yourself. Either like, I'm going to farm some gold so I can buy more upgrades, or I'm going to go try to kill this boss. And so you pick a class that you think is going to be the best for that situation. And it's a lot of fun. It's really, really cool. So the gameplay is really tight. It's awesome.
I like the art style.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Fez a little bit.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm a big sucker for procedurally generated.
Yeah, you would love
stuff,
this.
So
Yeah, you'd love this game. It's got a demo, I guess, from what Ashley said.
Yeah, on the website, I believe.
Yeah. I've actually been doing a lot of streaming of this game. I've been playing this game. I put a lot of hours into, I guess, like probably close to 20 hours. And,
Really?
Yeah. And I've killed like 3 bosses, and I'm working on the 4th boss. I've almost got him. I've basically got him killed. And then there's 4 bosses, and then I don't know what's behind the big door. So whenever you enter the castle, there's this big door, and it has like 4 little big symbols on it. And then, you know, once you kill a boss, each symbol lights up. So I don't know what happens once you go through that last door. I assume it's a big boss fight or a big level of some sort. Yeah, it's neat because they have different zones in the castle. It's kind of like Metroidvania in a way, you know. And you start out in the same area, but you generally know like where the different areas are. So once you get through the castle section, you can go into kind of like this jungle area, or this outdoors area, I should say. And like there are new enemy types that are there, and it's generally a little harder as you fight your way like through the castle and stuff. But once you find a boss door, if you want to try to tackle that boss, and let's say you die, or you attempt the boss and die, you can actually reset the castle to be the same layout as it was previously, but you get less gold through your run through. So before, whenever you die, whenever you pick your new character, your heir to, you know, your guy that died, you can, before you enter the castle, you can tell this architect guy like lock down the castle, and that will make it the same. He'll take like 30% of your gold or whatever. You won't make 30% as much, but what he'll do is he'll lock down the castle, so the castle will remain exactly the same. And then there are all these teleporters in the castle so you can get around fast, so you can actually make some progression on a boss if you want to without having to go like randomly search through the randomly generated castle to get to them kind of thing. So you're always kind of swapping back and forth between, using the teleporters to do something very specific and to get something, very specific in the game. And then, okay, I want to load up a full fresh castle so I can do like a full gold run and do some exploring and see how long I can last and build up this character so I can buy upgrades and stuff and find more upgrades, because you find swords and capes and all sorts of stuff. It's really, really cool. It's really, really cool.
So if you kill a boss, and then after you kill the boss, you die, do you have to go and kill that boss again?
No, you don't.
Okay.
You can only kill the bosses once. So you actually can't ever go back in and fight them once you kill them. So
So then once you've killed all the bosses, is that sort of the end of the game?
there
is
is
there not
a
that much replayability
New
after
Game
that
Plus
point,
version.
or-
So, yeah, I know people that have
Okay.
played the game all the way through, and they're playing the New Game Plus, and they're like, this is really hard, but they're still playing it. It's the same game like over and over, but they're still playing it because it's done so well. Yeah, like I said, I think I've played the game for almost 20 hours, and I'm getting sort of close to the end. I'm basically getting to the point where like I'm upgraded enough where I feel comfortable going into the kind of like the hell world of the castle that's like kind of in the basement area. It's like bigger enemies. They have, their attacks change, so their attacks do like more icicles whenever they shoot out from the ice mages and all sorts of stuff like that. I'm basically comfortable there, and I'm working on that boss of that section. And then once I beat him, I'm not sure what happens, but for $15, the game is totally worth it. And I totally, like, once I beat the last level, I may go back and play New Game Plus sometime, but I feel like I've gotten enough out of the game where it's like, yeah, this is really satisfying and this is awesome. And, so it's really, really cool.
How much is it on Steam?
$15, I think. It was on sale for the summer sale for $12, but yeah,
Damn it.
it's only a couple bucks, man. It's totally worth it. Like, you'll play this game. It's hard for me to really get buckled down and commit to a game for a long period of time because I have so many games that I like to play so often, and I'm playing games with friends and all sorts of stuff. But this game really, really put its hooks in me, and I've done a lot of streaming of it. And so if you want to check out any of the gameplay, like, you can check out my stream, and it has all the old gameplay that I copied and stuff. And one of the most engaging things about it is there are just like these challenge rooms that happen. So you'll walk into a room, and there'll be what's called a fairy chest in this room, and it'll give you a different objective. Like, sometimes it'll say,
Oh, the ones where you can't look?
yeah.
Those are the hardest.
Yeah, it'll say like, don't look, or it'll say, I'll explain how that one works, but it'll say like, don't take any damage. And so you have to you have to get to the chest without taking any damage from enemies, which generally means you want to kill them all. But sometimes it's just a bunch of bouncy, spiky balls, and you just have to dodge them all. Other times it'll say kill all the enemies, and you have to kill all the enemies. And then once you do, you can walk over to the chest and open it. And what it gives you is usually a rune that you can attach to your gear, and it'll do certain things. So like you'll get like a vampire rune, and you'll attach it to your sword, and then every time you get a kill, it'll give you like a couple HP. So long term, you'll get life back, And yeah, there are ones that say don't look, and what you have to do is turn backwards, and you have to have certain abilities equipped to do this, but you have to use a backwards dash to get to those chests usually. So yeah, there's depending on what like loadout you decide to go into the castle with. Like right now, what I usually use is a double jump and a dash. And there are a couple other things. One of them, like on my bracers, I have one that gives me more gold per enemy killed. There's all sorts of stuff you can put on there. There's a lot of options. And some of the things you really can't get to unless you have certain abilities equipped. There are a lot of secret zones in the map. So if you play as the dwarf, if your character has dwarfism and he's smaller than all the other ones, he can get in and out of all these little nooks and crannies more than any other character. Yeah, cool. It's awesome. There's
the dwarf ones are funny
yeah.
because the weapons are still the same size, but they're smaller.
That's
one
cool.
of my favorite dudes is the one that it says he tends to exaggerate. And sometimes whenever he gets hit by an enemy, instead of saying the real amount of damage that it took off of you, like above your head, like scrolling combat text, it'll say like -20 or whatever. It'll say like -5,000. And like, you'll freak out. You'll be like, oh shit. And then you'll realize like, oh, I'm not dead. He just exaggerates, It's...
Oh, so you don't actually take that
Right.
much damage. That's just what the indicator says.
Yeah, because your character tends to exaggerate. It's really charming and really endearing, and it's really, really awesome. So check it out. Yeah, they sell the game on their website too, which I actually think gives them Steam doesn't take a cut of it, obviously, right? Like, they keep more of the money if you buy it from their website. And it's also a DRM free copy and stuff. So if that's more of your style, then you can get it from their website at roguelegacy.com. But yeah, it's really worth checking out. So if you guys get a chance, play it, try it out.
Maybe it'll be in a humble bundle.
That's about it.
So I have a new time sink on the way. Borderlands 2 has DLC coming. 2 new DLC. Super excited about that.
Hooray.
I don't know if any of you guys play Borderlands 2 on a regular basis, but I'm looking forward to it. All the DLC so far has been really good.
What are the DLCs so far?
Like the ones that they've released already, or the 2 new ones that are coming?
The ones for, you're talking about like Borderlands 2, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ones that they've released for Borderlands 2.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
I remember what was in them, but I can't remember what they were called.
There's the pirate one. There's the hunting one. And the dragon one.
And then they have Tiny Tina's one, right? Is that the newest one that they just released?
Yeah.
That's the
the
dragon
Oh,
one.
okay. Yeah, that one looked good. That looked cool.
I unfortunately have not played any of the DLC despite having it all because I got a season pass.
Yeah.
Because I finished Borderlands 2, which I loved. I was so glad that I finally finished it because the writing in that game is some of the best that I've ever experienced. And I could not figure out how to do any of the DLC, and I was really lazy, so I didn't bother looking it up. And so I haven't played since, but I really, really need
Is this, do you guys have it for PC or for one of the consoles?
PC.
Okay.
I've got it for PC.
I have it for PC. I'm just started in the game, and I think it's really cool, but I need some people to play with. So maybe we can do a Merit Get stream, and we can chat on Skype, and maybe even invite some listeners to maybe come play with us or something.
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah. So
Be awesome.
Ashley, have you played any of the newest DLC, or I'm sorry, what did you?
Well, there's 2 new DLC that have been announced.
Okay.
One was announced at PAX Australia, and the second one, I don't know where the second one was announced actually, but the first one is getting a level cap increase, and I'm a level grinder, so I'm happy about that. Raising level to 11 levels, so that would be to 72, I believe.
So if I
Yeah.
bought the DLC and then started playing with you guys, would we do the DLC after the main game, or do they make the DLC where it's something where you'd want to play it as after you get to a certain level, or how would you suggest going about that?
Well, when I play with people that I haven't played with before, I usually just like to start a new game.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all on, a level playing field, especially if we plan on doing it for an extended amount of time, because I totally don't mind, because like Andre said, the writing is fantastic. So
Yeah, it's pretty clever. I'm enjoying it a lot.
I wouldn't mind playing through it again, but yeah, I would probably just play through the regular game first, just to, get a feel for each other's play
If it's-
style. And
And if the DLC is anything like what it was for Borderlands 1, it's all sort of post-story
Okay.
stuff
Yeah.
anyway. You can do it before you finish the story, but it tends to be balanced towards you finishing the story, getting to those levels first, and then branching off and doing all the extra
Right.
content.
Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna have to play some of that. So
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so apparently Forward Unto Dawn, the web series that was released before Halo 4, got nominated for an Emmy. They were nominated for Outstanding Main Title Design, which I thought
now,
was
is the
actually
main
pretty cool.
title
I don't know.
the part where Cortana's fighting with herself to try and not wake up Master Chief?
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure, because it changes with each episode. So I think that they're considering that the main title design and not just the the Forward Unto Dawn title card, which is admittedly really nice looking, but it's pretty short. So I'm assuming they're sort of considering that whole almost story element that's before each episode to be the main title design.
See, because I watched it on Netflix, and on Netflix it's just one. They compacted everything into like a movie-sized video. So I only saw. I didn't see any of the other ones. I only saw that part that I talked about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I'm not sure because I tried rewatching it because it originally aired on Machinima Prime on YouTube. Now only the first 2 episodes are up, which really upset me because I was trying to find the 3rd episode and I couldn't find it anywhere and I couldn't figure out why. But yeah, apparently you can only watch it, I guess, on Netflix or through the Xbox, or if you buy it. So, but before each of the YouTube version episodes, there was sort of a short intro with Cortana on the Forward Unto Dawn before Halo 4 starts, and then it plays the title card, and then it cuts to the flashback.
Well, that's cool. I mean, the part with Cortana and Sheev, it was really pretty. I was appreciative of it because I watched it after I played Halo 4, and it kind of gave a little backstory as to what the heck was happening when he was, sleeping in space for 4 years. So I got some appreciation out of it.
Seems cool. I haven't seen Forward Unto Dawn. Maybe I should watch it. Yeah, I'll
recommend
check
it.
it out.
It's
I'm
good.
not the biggest Halo guy. I like the games because I like their approach to enemy AI and how it's just dynamic AI as opposed to Call of Duty, which is static, the same every time that you do it. So I play through all the games and they're fun, but I don't seek much Halo or get into the story hardly at all. So I'll check this out. Since I don't have to do any active playing or active thinking, then I'll watch it. And, cool. Yeah, that's neat. Video games winning awards. That's always fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the it probably isn't, but it might be the first web series that's been nominated for an Emmy. And then of course there's also House of Cards is nominated for a couple things too, and I think it's definitely the first time anything on Netflix original has been nominated.
It's just good to see video game fare getting attention in unusual places like that. I remember I was really excited when the music from Journey got nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always interesting to see that kind of stuff in places where you wouldn't expect it to be.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're definitely starting to see that sort of bleed through of gaming into other genres of entertainment now, and it being much more readily accepted.
Yep. I mean, despite the fact that, as far as I know, video games have made more money than TV and movies and all that over the past, I don't know how many years. It's still... Some people still
crazy.
seem hesitant to accept it as a mainstream form of media, which I've never understood. What really gets under my skin is that some people don't even consider video games art.
Well, that's just ridiculous.
That's just silly, I think. I mean, to each their own. But I don't get that.
We could probably spend a whole episode on that.
Yeah, we probably could. But yeah, it's nice to see something from the genre I love getting that kind of recognition.
I mean, League of Legends also threw up a short anime short. Did you guys see that?
No.
It was with all of the original characters. They made this little. It was awesome. Just this 3D animated 2-minute long short where they were just fighting each other. Each character would come in, do its little song and dance, and then it would start attacking some other character. They'll do their song and dance. And it was awesome, and I feel it's really gonna hit hard with these video games. I mean, Halo, of course, has been in talk for a while now, making a movie, but I don't think it's ever gonna happen anymore. But
actually, they said that Forward Unto Dawn was a precursor of what a Halo movie could be.
Well, I'm sure, and because I can't remember what the title was for the movie that was in the process. No, about 4 or 5 years ago. Do you guys remember the Halo movie that was in play that they're gonna make?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it anything similar to the one to the web series?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think the one that they were thinking of making was going to be more in line with sort of where the story is currently. The web series is really a prequel to everything in Halo. It sets itself up to establish right before Halo 4, but then it goes into a flashback that's all about before the events of the Halo games.
Oh, awesome.
So I think they were looking at different time frames.
Yeah, it has to be because it takes place at a UNSC academy, and none of them know who Master Chief is. None of them know about the Covenant. So it has to take place before the first Halo game.
Yeah, basically, this is going to be getting into Halo lore just a little bit, but it's during the time when the Spartans were first being used they were sort of the secret weapon against the insurrectionists, and that was right before the Covenant attacks.
Okay.
Yeah, because in one part of this is actually my favorite part of the series, all the cadets, one of the cadets is this genius hacker guy, and he's been splicing together this classified video, and it's a bunch of UNSC soldiers fighting insurgents, or fighting along with insurgents, and all the cadets are kind of what the crap? And then in one part of the video, you see they see this armored hand, and as a player, you know it's Master Chief's hand. And they compare it, and they're like, whoever this guy is, he's like 10 feet tall, and he's throwing that guy across the room. And then later, once they get some more of the video, they see that it's Master Chief's helmet, and they're like, what the fuck is that? So, it was a really good introduction and way to bring him into the story. Because people feared him. They're like, what the fuck?
Nice.
What the fuck? But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And it was a good prequel to not just Halo 4, but all the Halo games.
Yeah.
I think.
So we started this off with the League of Legends video. Where can you find that?
You know, that was when you would log into League of Legends, it would be like right there. You actually might just be able to do...
Probably on their website, I assume?
It's probably up on YouTube.
Either go to Riot or just go to YouTube and just look for League of Legends animation opening sequence, and that would probably lead you right to it. It's pretty cool. It has Twisted Fate, Fiddlesticks, Garen, Katarina, and it was pretty cool. Like they went through some pretty cool fight scenes.
Excellent.
So definitely check that out.
WoW is making a kid's book. Since we're talking about video games and other media.
A World of Warcraft movie got announced. Finally.
What?
Like, yeah.
It's been sort of that thing where they've talked about it in behind the scenes, and it's like, oh, this is gonna happen. Oh, maybe Sam Raimi's gonna do it. No, maybe someone else is gonna do it. And then they finally announced it officially, and they finally gave it a director too.
As a director,
there's a lot of video game movies coming up that I'm really excited about, especially the Dead Space one.
Please tell me M. Night Shyamalan is doing it.
Oh God, I hope not.
Please tell me.
For Warcraft or Dead Space?
For Warcraft.
For anything, no.
It's actually Duncan Jones is going to be directing the Warcraft adaptation.
Cool, I gotta check him out.
Who's that?
So
we could have some fun predicting, like, we should like rewrite the endings of video games M. Night Shyamalan style.
Had to butcher all the names in the movie.
Just like crazy twists to the endings of video games.
They were gonna make a BioShock movie.
They
right?
were, but that got caught up in a lot of. There's a lot of. In fact, a lot of my favorite video game franchises are supposed to have movies, and they got canned. Like Fatal Frame is one of my favorite series, and it was supposed to have a movie, and it got tanked, and the BioShock movie got canned.
So this Duncan Jones guy, he's done this short film called Whistle. He did 2009. He did a movie called Moon. He did Source Code from 2011, and then he's working on Warcraft. So not that much stuff, but the thing that we do know about him that means that this movie has to be awesome is he is the son of David Bowie. I did not know that. That's crazy. That's awesome. So David Bowie's son is working on directing the Warcraft movie, so that's going to be awesome.
So we know at least one of his songs is going to be there.
Yeah. Cool, very cool. So what we've got left to talk about, Patrick, is Magic. Tell us what you've been doing. You mentioned that you've been playing some Magic, and you've been playing the card game, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
the card game.
so you're in deep.
Real deep. When I first started off about a year ago, I wasn't really too sure of the game. Like, it's really hard to learn all the rules.
Right.
There are so many different types of abilities each kind of creature has. Just learning the game in general.
Right.
I believe Magic the Gathering, the actual creators of the card game, created this mobile app that you can have for your, I think, Apple and possibly Android as well, where essentially it just runs you through the card game in simulation.
Oh, neat.
And it's great. It's a really cool way to learn the game, which is awesome. Because I find myself countless times running to my computer and trying to figure out what move nullifies another move. It really helps with just understanding the game, figuring it out. And it's pretty cool too, because when I played it, it was a 2013 core set, so they gave you a couple of the cool legendary creature cards, and like green, they could have like green, blue, red, blue decks that actually they sold at comic book stores, which is really cool because I actually had some of them. So I got to play them in the simulation as well, and to get to learn my cards that way. So it's not too bad. What kind of sucked about it, though, was that you only had 3 different decks to choose from when I played, and it was a really fast type of game. Like, you would play, like, the AI 3 times and you're done. But you do learn a lot. You understand like the game a little bit more. You can walk away like with more knowledge of the game itself. I mean, it's still insane because they actually just brought back these creatures called slivers, which are creatures that work off of each other. So if you bring a sliver out, it'll say all sliver creatures gain vigilance, which is basically they don't tap. I don't want to get into it too much, but because it's just there's too much, but it gets really complex with sliver cards, and they brought them back. It's been from what I've heard, 5 years. So
yeah, Magic is seems really complicated. I've always had an interest in learning it, and you know, I was interested in, you know, the cards and tried to kind of figure it out, and was like, oh, this is just way too complicated. So I put it off for like a couple of years. Then I'd come back and go, oh, this game's still popular. I want to learn again, you know, and figure this out. And finally, I guess it was just so many months ago, I bought one of the Magic games off of Steam, and I was like, well, this is a digital copy of the game, and you can't cheat or mess up or anything about how the cards are played or what's played when. So this would be a really good way to learn. And I tried a couple games, went through the tutorial, and it started making some sense, but it was still really complicated. So I wanted to get your view on, since you're...
The digital aspect of it makes things much easier for you as the player. You obviously do not have a connection with the AI. You're just kind of playing your cards in a free motion, as if you're just playing by yourself, but you're able to learn about the game. You're able to...
Right.
Kind of see different ways to go about playing the game, and it's pretty cool actually, because when I played with tournament players, they actually announce every phase that they're in, which there's three phases to your actual turn, and it counts it off for you. It tells you what phase you're in, how to proceed, and then you know your opponent goes and it comes right back to you. Whereas if you're in a situation where I was in against a real tournament player, you feel so helpless regardless of what kind of cards you have. It's insane.
I know that the tournament circuit for Magic is pretty serious business.
It is no joke.
Not just technically, but logistically. Do you think you could ever see maybe even a sector of the tournaments transition to this entirely electronic form of the game, or do you think it'll just stay like strictly physical decks till the end of time?
I don't know if it's run by Magic the Gathering itself, but there is another game that you can buy a digital deck. From the people I talk to, they really like to keep with a physical form. It's kind of like with video games, you know, do I go digital or do I keep, you know, having a CD type thing? And like for me, I love having the cards. I like just holding them, I just feel more comfortable with it. You know, I feel I can do more with it, I guess. I feel like it can turn into that.
Yeah, I have a friend who plays tournaments. He's got like literally one of those big IKEA bookshelves, and it's just filled with Magic cards. And I don't know how many of them are still usable, and he watches the broadcasts of the players, like the really big successful players, and it's kind of crazy because they have like announcers, like legitimate sporting events.
Where can you watch the broadcasts at?
I don't know what website it is.
Okay.
I'll find out for you.
Yeah,
I'll ask
great,
my friend.
cool.
But like I noticed just from watching it for, you know, half an hour that, I mean, the professional players, like, they definitely have habits and tics and idioms that they adopt in their play style that may not even have anything to do with how they're actually going about the round, but like you know, how they hold their cards, the pace at which, you know, they arrange them. Because I know pretty much nothing about the game, so I couldn't keep up with what was going on. But even as my friend tried to explain to me what they were doing, they were just going so quickly that he couldn't keep up with the explanation. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I can see where people get attached to their physical cards, but I mean, maybe in another generation of Magic players, like those guys' kids, the ones that manage to create kids, maybe they can maybe in another generation you'll see those people with the camera above their rounds, and they'll be like playing on their iPad.
They're gonna need to figure something out though, because there's something special about like going to the store and buying a pack of cards, not knowing what's in it, and already committing to something, you know, without knowing what's truly in the package, and then ripping it open and seeing what you got and seeing that one lucky card or no lucky cards or whatever. like that seems like such a universal thing. Like I loved baseball cards and Garbage Pail Kids and all those type of things growing up. And then I've even bought like some games similar to Magic that I thought I'd learn how to play, but just never did. And because I liked that aspect of things. And then, my little brothers collected the Pokemans and, did all the Pokemon stuff. And so until, like, it's not, to me, it doesn't seem like something where, oh, it's just going to go digital eventually and someone's going to get used to it. But it's like they need to do something digital where it gives you that same feeling. I started playing this game called Scrolls, which is a game where you collect cards, but then it has more of a strategic battlefield type of play to it as well. And it's a game that's being made by Notch, the guy that made Minecraft. And you buy digital packs of cards. Like, you take your points that you win in battle, and then you go and you kind of, you can select what you want to buy in the store. You can either buy like a random card from a specific deck, or you can save up enough to buy, and this is the best way to do it, to buy a whole pack of cards at once, and then you randomly get 12 cards, and you're guaranteed to get so many rares and so many of this card in each pack. But you still, like, they literally go through this whole ritual of things where you're clicking on the cards and seeing them as they pop up for the first time. And there's something, it hits my tinglies a little bit, like, opening the cards whenever I was a kid, but it's not quite there. But maybe for someone else it would be. So
I always wonder how they go about randomizing those packs.
Yeah.
Like in the factory when they're packaging them and stuff.
Yeah.
And like when they put one of the really rare cards into a pack, is there like some sort of christening ceremony where everyone who works there like gathers around and they slip it very carefully inside the sleeve.
Oh, that's
and then
funny.
like lay it in the very center of the box, like, Indiana Jones style.
Yeah.
Like, and then they all stand in the parking lot and wave it off as it gets delivered.
Not knowing if it's going to go to some
where.
ungrateful little bastard kid that's not going to know what it is. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, man, that's funny.
So that's all we got for tonight. Thanks for listening, guys. Please subscribe on iTunes and leave us reviews. That's how we climb the ladder. You can check us out on our website at meritgetpodcast.com, and there you'll find the links to all our social media sites. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, keep track of, what's going on in our lives, learn a little bit more about the four of us. And until next Wednesday, thanks for listening. I'm Ashley.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Sean.
I'm Andre.
See you next week, guys.
See ya.
Bye.